Radio Rahim with Mams Taylor here in London, top of the year. You guys have started it with a ruckus. It wasn't necessarily the smooth start you wanted, but certainly you can see here today that the interest is peaking. Talk to me first about the road to this moment. Like, I believe the KSI Misfits boxing right now is peaking.
We're just getting started. And yes, it's a roller coaster, but that's what Misfits is about. Expect the unexpected. We don't know what's going to happen. We didn't know Dylan Dennis was going to pull out, but you know what? We were ready with options, and the show must go on, and that's our mantra. We don't want to let our fans down, and we want to keep things going. And of course, super excited. 5-year deal with DAZN. Couldn't be happier about it, you know?
And looking at that Dylan Dennis situation, you know, it happens in traditional boxing as well. Fighters fall out, and sometimes the show gets canceled, but you're the guy that has to do the heavy lift and make sure that the show does go on. How difficult was it, first of all, in that moment to decide what to do? And is this something that you expect to have to deal with in the future?
We have to expect the unexpected. You know, like it happens in boxing, it happens in all kinds of combat sports. People get injured. It's not celebrity golf. So at the end of, even golfers have to pull out. But at the end of the day, the chances of someone getting injured or something like that happening, it's quite high. Will people pull out because they're underprepared, like Dennis? Probably not very often. That won't be an excuse I expect to have from too many people, you know. But
have you spoken to Dylan?
Yeah, I have. I've spoken to him. He's got no answer. He's like, why did you say I was underprepared? I said, because you were. That's what your management told me. And I was like, why didn't you fight? Why did you pull out? No answer. And look, he's deep down, he's a good kid, but he's just a bit lost. And I wish him the best at this point. I just don't want to have anything to do with anyone like that messing with what we're doing.
You know, I said on the day, I'm more excited about the Faze Temperrr fight.
It's a tougher fight.
And these guys are more motivated. There's something about having a YouTuber kind of league. I know it hasn't been defined that way yet.
No, it's a crossover league. So it's open to anyone who's at their top of their game and they have some influence, whether it's a MMA guy, whether it's a golfer, whether it's someone on Love Island or an actor, an actress, a pop star, whoever, we're open to it. But yes, it started with the YouTubers. The TikTokers are coming in. We got a piece of whoever wants it and is willing to train and put on a great show. That's what it's about.
I hear you, and as a promoter, that's what you have to be. I'm saying if I'm going to put my fan hat on, from day one in Manchester, it was all YouTubers. And you hear Anthony over there right now, they're shouting back and forth at each other. These guys seem more motivated, more desiring of the win and the spotlight than any of these golfers or TikTokers or whoever.
Well, I mean, look, this is early days. It's going to keep having its natural evolution. And I look forward to harnessing that and learning from mistakes from other organizations we're inspired by, learning from other promoters, whether it's Dana White, Vince McMahon, Bob Arum, Oscar De La Hoya, or Floyd, or whoever. And obviously Kalle Sauerland brings his experience to the table, but there is an entertainment element here as well. So there's inspiration from the WWE. Got to take our hats off. I've been a fan of theirs. I've been a fan of the UFC. I've been a fan of Bellator. I've been a fan of traditional boxing since I was 2-3 years old. So it's a dream to be actually working on something that we all are passionate about.
And now you found a home for all that passion, all this talent at DAZN. This is where you're going to really plant your flag, and you now have been defining at least what YouTube boxing is, or influencer boxing is on the network. How is what a fan or a subscriber will see from Misfits and these promotions differ from what they'll see elsewhere?
Well, for one thing, the fans know all the fighters. 90% of the fighters, at least. Each fan will know most of the characters. Whereas if you watch a traditional boxing card with, back in the day, or with Errol Spence on it or something, you might know one or two of the fights. As an average fan, you might know less. You might just know the headliner fight, And the undercard, no one really knows a lot of the fighters unless they're hardcore fans, Whereas with us, I think even the casual fan knows that all 7-8 of our fights, they know all of the fighters. They follow the storylines. So there's that. We have people who've made it to this space because of their them being entertaining or excelling in their space. So they're encouraged to carry on doing that, you know? Excuse me, Anthony Taylor might be a bit of an extreme example, but God bless him, he put, you know, people, he gets the attention.
Well, if we're going to go with the WWE analogy, I guess to your Hulk Hogan of it all, KSI is going to be carrying the spotlight for everybody. And the big buildup, I mean, we can't ignore that this year could be a gargantuan fight coming December. Jake Paul has said he sent the contract over. I've been talking about this fight since these YouTubers stepped in the ring in the first place. Where is that negotiation at?
So Nikisa, Jake Paul's manager, and myself, I said, look, let's make this happen in December. He did send a term sheet over. There's things that we're going to have to compromise on and meet in the middle, but I'm very confident. And I said to them, let us get through this fight week, and then we'll put all focus on this and get back with red lines on the contract, and let's make this happen. I'm determined to make this fight happen. KSI is determined to make this fight happen in December.
And we know that the fighters can get contentious, the guys who have to step in the ring against each other, but is the relationship management style, promotion-wise, is it smooth? Are you guys congenial?
We've had our bumps in the road, but I think at the end of the day, we're both interested and determined to make this happen. So there should be a code, and I think we've agreed a code of conduct between us. The fighters, we can't control what they say to each other and the madness between them. There's real contention between them. There's real disdain. So let that happen. But as far as us, we've got to remain professional in order to make this happen.
Now, no matter what people say, you know, they're the purists in the sport, and whether or not this is traditional boxing or YouTube boxing, that thing that you just talked about, the tension between the two fighters, the desire to be number one in this space, that's real. That's what fighting is really about. We know that Jake Paul has had more experience in the ring doing fights like this for longer.
Yeah.
Does it concern you that KSI, just experience-wise, competition-wise, is going to have to do some catching up in the next 12 or 11 months?
Well, you know, he's got a fight on Saturday. He's going to get some more ring time under the lights. Again, he's going to be fighting in the summer. And then I think that his determination and his will and his natural kind of hunger for this will supersede that. And I think there's elements that I'm not going to disclose that I think that he's going to bring to the table that Jake's not going to be ready for. But it's a tough challenge, and yes, Jake has experience on his side. KSI has certain elements on his side. It's a fight we all want to see. People will speculate. People will say what they're going to say. The talking will be done by the end of December, and we'll have one person with their hand in the air, and hopefully it puts all of this debate to bed.
Well, if we put that debate to bed in December, I think everybody in this room and around the world is going to be tuning in. And this Saturday night, Faze Temperrr is not, a shrinking violet. This guy has something to prove as well. He didn't have his best time out on the last big stage that you did. What is the mindset going in, not just for KSI, who now has all this pressure, if you will, all this responsibility to the network, maybe to the fight in December to perform, and then Faze Temperrr, who wants to redeem his name and establish himself as a real contender here.
Absolutely. I mean, Faze Temperrr came out and knocked his last opponent out in, 11 seconds or something. But I think that coming back from that moment that he had, he's determined to prove himself and say, like, this is, and that's a tough thing. He's got that hunger in his eyes. He wants to redeem himself, and what bigger prize than beating KSI? And that's where his hunger is. So KSI is not underestimating that and has to keep that in mind, you know?
And he'd be quite the spoiler. This guy would derail a lot of plans if he's successful.
Yeah, no, I said that to his manager yesterday. I said, look, don't try and fuck with my Jake Paul KSI fight, you know? So.
And lastly, Jake has been getting a lot of criticism when it comes to not fighting professional fighters or fighters that are traditional, and he has yet to accomplish that. Is that something that's on KSI's radar?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, look, there is a bit of a pissing contest between them that goes on, but the reality is Jake's aspirations in boxing are very different to KSI's. KSI wanted to create a platform for others and also participate to get to fighting Jake Paul, creating the buzz, and then after that we'll see what happens. But that's his primary goal. Jake wants to be a world champion, you know, which I can't say anyone's delusional, because you need a bit of delusion to achieve your goals, to be honest, especially if they're grand goals and they're big goals. So I got to respect what he's done. In the ring, he's performed very well. Have they picked very, very cleverly? Yes, they have. You know, and I give them credit for that. That's smart. It's not like Jake Paul is going to fight Canelo right now and do very well if he does. And if he thinks he would, that's a bit of delusion that's gone too far. But what he's done so far, the attention he's brought to the sport, women's boxing, whether he's doing it inauthentically or not is irrelevant. He's actually brought positive attention. For that, you got to respect. You have to respect him. He beat Anderson Silva. If you ask Jake Paul, would you beat Anderson Silva 7-10 years ago? And if he was an honest person, he'd say no. I don't think that would be a remote possibility. But irrelevant of that, he did beat him now. He's beaten a legend. Right. You know, so he does have that feather in his cap, regardless. 7 or 10 years from now, could you be having this conversation about him beating Canelo? I don't think so. Canelo's still, how old is Canelo? 32? I think 7 to 10 years, Canelo will still be Canelo. Maybe just a little bit more of a, bit more labored in his fighting. I think. Look, my daughter told me the other day. She said, "Daddy, you don't sit down and get up without making a moaning noise." And I said, "That's what happens when you're 40 plus." You say, So. Somebody said, that's how you stay young. No matter what you do, don't ever make old man noises when you get up. I got to get out of that habit then. And lastly, we talked about goals. KSI, even the first time around, he said, this is about promoting. I want to lift other fighters up. I'm enjoying this YouTuber influencer space, kind of staying true to that. And then after the Logan Paul fight, I was in the middle of the ring. I talked to both of them, and he said it was done. That's it. He just wanted to accomplish that goal and then, go back to rapping and all the stuff. Is this maybe the conversation I'll be having with him in December? Is Jake the goal? For now, yes. I think for right now, he has to keep his focus on Faze Temperrr and not get distracted and keep his eye on that prize. Beyond that, looking into the future, once that's done, another fight, then Jake Paul, and then let's see what happens. Look, we all know that athletes and people who fall in love with the sport of boxing, they retire many times and come back many times because you get the itch and you miss it and you miss the lights and the adrenaline flow, So let's see what happens. First time around, Deji and Jake Paul got it on. Obviously, everybody was a novice. Is there something in the KSI family that wants to have KSI beat both the Pauls? And maybe, that is the top of the hill for him. In terms of fighting Jake? Yeah, if he beat Logan and Jake, that would be something pretty a feather in the cap for the family, wouldn't it? Sure, but I know, his relationship with Logan is pretty cool and pretty authentic and nice, and they really do like each other, and they've got one of the most incredibly successful companies, Prime Hydration. And so there's no hard feelings between them at all. There's a genuine fondness between them. And that's what makes it such an interesting juxtaposition with Jake. Him and Jake genuinely, they really hate each other's guts. So Logan's in a place where he's like, fuck, and obviously Logan's business partner is KSI, but family is family, and we understand that. So I think the best thing, and I said this to Logan, I think he agrees, is that he fights that night as well. Whoa. And has a fight on that card, and that way he's more focused on his own fight than having to cause any tension between. Well, both he and Deji have fought Mayweather. We gave Mayweather a black eye. Deji did. Maybe we just do a cross promote, and it's something like we saw in Manchester. It's true, but I think that Deji's just so much smaller than him. That's the problem, David and Goliath. I mean, those early days of UFC, did you watch Keith Hackney against the 400-pounder?
Exactly.
We can't get away with
David
that.
Haye against that ginormous fighter.
Yeah, once you're over 200, we can do that. But otherwise, yeah, I don't see that happening. But there's plenty of interesting ones to come.
He's such a folk hero now, Deji is. They love him to death. Will we be seeing him maybe on the card in the summer?
We've been in touch, so I'd love to have Deji come back. He had his redemption with Misfits.
Yeah.
And let's see what happens. But I'd love to have Deji come back.
Looking forward to a huge 2023. All these things that we've discussed and probably things that you won't even tell me yet. So Radio Rahim with Mams Taylor. Congratulations on the DAZN deal. We'll be here all year to watch this thing unfold. And on Saturday night at the OVO, they're going to get it on Faze Temperrr and KSI. Radio Rahim with Mams Taylor.